YouTube, this is just a video. Right now I'm blowing up my tire on a 2007 Nissan Pathfinder. And I mean, no different than anybody else's, but essentially what the video is for, I don't work for Ryobi or anything like that. I do like to show good tools when I run into them. So this is the Ryobi blow up your tire setup. I have a bunch of Ryobi tools, and this just happens to be the battery I'm using right now. Most of you are familiar with the batteries, whatever. I'm trying to do this one hand. So you can check, pushing the button, see how much you get left, so you can see I'm getting low. But I've been using this to fill up this tire for quite a while, and I keep having issues because it had a leak. I tried to fix it numerous times. Incidentally, I just bought something from Harbor Freight. It's a professional kit. Here, I'll show you. And while we're talking about it, so essentially this is the professional kit, and I made that fall on purpose. Inside, it's made by Maddox, and you get all these tools. The one that I was interested in the most was this one right here, because it has this little piece on it. So when you ream it out, you pull the nail out or whatever's inside, and you ream the hole to make it just a little bigger. Then you take this and you stick it in this goop stuff to get it gooped up. Then you put one of these, slide it in so it's halfway, in between. And then you press down on here. You keep this thing out of the way, and you just push it in until there's like a third sticking out of the tire. So just a little bit. And as you're pulling it back out, you push this towards the tire, and you're pulling the handle up, and this will keep the rubber, down inside the tire, because I tried it numerous times. With the other one, it was a pain because every time you pull it out, it wants to pull the thing out. So it's like a balancing act trying to make it work. But this thing, the professional one, has this, so you push this forward, it goes like all the way right to the tip, and it sits right where the tire is. So as you're pulling, this holds the rubber in, and then you're good to go, and then you just cut the excess rubber off. So anyway, that's what I have in my tire right now. I had tried it with a couple other plugs, and you can see this brownish looking color here. That's what's sticking out of the plug now. So as I was filling up my tire, they take 35 pounds. I've been wanting to make this video anyway, so I was like, why don't I stop in between? So this thing works fantastic. I mean, it's a little slow. And here's like the specs of it. So I'll just let you, if you want to pause it or whatever. So it has this little gauge here, so you can see. I just tapped it once, so I got 29 pounds in there right now. Kind of convenient because this lights up, as you can see. So if you're on the side of the road or whatever, you can use that to shine on, wherever the nipple is, so that you can put this on there. It's pretty convenient. Again, whatever battery you want to use. Again, Ryobi, and mine just happens to be a 18 volt 4 amp hour battery. I wanted to show the video also because of this right here. All this is a piece of Velcro. So unfortunately, because there's no way to keep this pressed in, you'd have to like sit here, until it's all the way full. Mine was just down to 11 pounds, and then less than that when I, pulled the plug out and put the new one in. So I put this little piece of Velcro here. So once I push this in, I slide this up. I'll try and do it. Try and do it with one hand, sorry. So as you can see, sorry it's too loud, I'll shut it off in a second. So as you can see now, it will go by itself, which is great. So you can do other things, whatever, come back and keep checking on it. And that's that. And you'll constantly get, whatever the pressure is in there. As we see, it's 30.5 now, and I'm just going to 35. So while I was sitting here, I was just like, okay, it's going to be, 2-3 more minutes. And I was like, oh, that's right, I wanted to make a video, so might as well do it while it's blowing up. It works quick enough. So if you had to swap out to a spare because something happened to your tire and you don't have that kit in your vehicle to fix it or whatever, but the spare is a little low. Perfect to have this thing, or for any day use. I mean, I've been using this like constantly with that little hole that I had there. Probably every 4 days, 3 to 4 days, I had to pump this back up, which I've been doing that all winter. I live in New England, and pain in the butt. Especially you kind of forget about it sometimes, and you're in a rush, you have to go somewhere, and then you're like, oh God, now it's going to take another 5, 6, whatever minutes just to fill the tire up, which you wouldn't have had to spend, you know what I mean? And you could have got to wherever you're going quicker. So, also, for any of you that don't know this, so here's a torque wrench, and obviously people have seen it before, they know what it is, whatever. But your lug nuts need to be torqued to the right torque. So mine go to 90 pounds, 90 foot-pounds. And if you don't do that and you just tighten them and they're all different tightnesses or whatever, the problem with that is the rotor that's in there that it rests against, if one's pressed in more than the other and so on and so forth, when it's not that much of an issue until you're driving for a while and utilizing the brakes. So then when you start to use the brakes and that rotor heats up because the brakes have been rubbing on it to slow you down and so on and so forth, those rotors heat up, and depending if these are all torqued to different things because you just didn't care to do it right, that's what causes the rotor to bend in different ways. So then all of a sudden, every time you hit the brakes, you feel this like vibration in the car. And the reason that you're feeling that is because you didn't torque these all down to whatever the specs are for your vehicle. Just had the same issue with my brother's new pickup truck, brand new truck. He put different tires on it for the winter, didn't care about lugs or any of that other stuff. We just had to do a whole brake job on his truck. And he's like, I never heard of that, bro. What are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, you don't have to take my word for it. But I learned the hard way myself. And, you know, once I found out about it, I always torque my lug nuts. So in a pinch, you know what I mean? If you don't have a torque wrench and you had to change your tire, it's not the end of the world. But just remember, you definitely want to go back and torque those all down to the right spec. They'll all be the same, whatever it is. And you can usually find that right in your owner's manual. If not, you can go on Google for your year vehicle and so on and so forth and find out what the torque is. But it's very important because, I mean, brakes and rotors are expensive, and it's, if you don't know how to do it, fortunately I do a lot of work on my own vehicles, so not that big of a deal for me, but still a pain. Like, I would rather just torque these down right than have to keep replacing rotors just because I didn't want to torque them down right. Or, like I said, if you just didn't know. So always important to torque those down, otherwise your brake guy is going to love you because you're constantly going to be paying him, you know. And brakes are expensive if you have somebody else do it, a couple $1,000s by the time all's said and done, if you did rotors, pads, and just the whole job, depending on your vehicle, so on and so forth. So just do that. Again, I love this thing. Again, I have a lot of Ryobi tools. This comes in real handy. Again, this is a SUV, 2007 Nissan Pathfinder. Has no issue blowing up from flat all the way up many times. This battery, like I said, I was doing it like every 3 days or whatever. I would keep checking the battery. I could blow this up no problem, and it barely even took a quarter out of the battery. So, I mean, one battery would last me quite a while. But, you know, if you are using it and stuff like that, just keep an eye on the battery by pushing that little button on the back, and you'll see how much you have left. I have a battery bank that I can just swap them out. So right after I'm done blowing this up, I'm just going to swap that battery out and put it in the truck. This little spot in the top, so when you're done with this, it just kind of like rests over the top and sits in there nice. It's not as good as I'd like it to be. Some of the areas, it's kind of loose. I just don't feel like taking it off to show you. But if you bring this part like close to right here and then press down, it works pretty good. But if it's too much forward or whatever, it just flops right out of there. I just learned that over time. But that's not a major issue. The other thing I like is it is long enough. So right now I have this jacked up a little, and you know, if it was all the way down, this reaches no matter where that, you know, nipple is on your tire, which is nice. So that wasn't an issue. In other words, so like if it was up too high, depending on your vehicle, and now the thing's like dangling in the air because the nipple's, you know, really high. On my SUV, no issue. Doesn't matter where that ends up on the tire. It reaches it and can just sit on the floor. Like I said, I would advise, again, this is just regular Velcro. It just wraps around, and I left it loose. So that way when I push the trigger in, it slides right up over it and just kind of holds it. So just an idea, so that way you don't have to sit there, you know, if it's raining or whatever, you want to keep an eye on it for whatever the gauge keeps saying, and it stays on the whole time it's running. Just keep an eye on it for whatever the pressure is that you're supposed to put in your vehicle. But like I said, you just don't have to sit there the entire time, because it does take a while. These tires could take 5 to 6 minutes to get it back to where it is. Again, these are 35 pounds I'm putting in here. Sometimes it'll drop if I'm not paying attention to like 11, and it's definitely going to take like 5-6 minutes to fill it up. But that's not a big deal, and it definitely has enough power to fill up the tire, which is really all I care about, and you guys should care about, like, in a pinch if you need this. So that's pretty much all I got, guys. Great Ryobi tool, again, I'll just show you. That's what it looks like. Again, the battery, whatever battery you use, and you can see that it does tell you the pressure, and that works great for a light, like I said, at nighttime. Again, here are the specs here. And I also, like I said, I don't work for Ryobi or anything, but I'm going to start doing a lot more videos on the tools that I do use by Ryobi. I know there's a ton of other ones out there, but I like to show people as well, especially if I'm working on jobs or whatnot. Don't forget to torque your lug nuts. Very, very important unless you want to continue to do brake jobs. Like I said, that I think it's called Masters or whatever I showed you at the beginning of the video. So like the plug kits for your tire works really good, actually. Took me no time to fix that. I don't know if it's going to work. In other words, I've plugged that hole a few times and it's still leaked. So that's why I bought this at Harbor Freight, that other kit that I showed you. Wasn't too expensive, like 20 bucks, 25 tops. I can't really remember. But I'm hoping that it, you know, did a better job than what I've been trying to do before. So, well, further ado, you guys know where I am on YouTube. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, if you're new to the video, you've heard it before, please subscribe. A lot of people don't like to say it. Basically, it just helps their channel. I mean, they usually say that, but it's a financial thing. I didn't start my channel to make money off it or anything like that. But if you can make a few pennies here and there, why not? It definitely helps me. So if you like the material and you want to subscribe, please subscribe. Other than that, have a great day. Bye, YouTube.